What's up, everybody? I am Ari Temkin, and as soon as I can get this up, this is showtime. All right, here we go. And we are officially in a game week, folks, so a lot to get to today. Eric Koscielny, Chris Bennett, G. Garcia, Kerry Teagle in the house. Real quickly, I want to remind everybody that I'm going to be live all next week, Monday through Friday, at the Irishman Pub in Plano. So come hang out. It's actually Richardson. So come hang out with us. We're going to have lunch specials and a lot of fun. So if you want to be part of the live version of Showtime, we'll be at the Irishman Pub in Richardson all next week. Plus, we've got plenty of watch parties coming up as well across during Cowboys games. So we're very excited about all that to announce and get through. So very busy time, obviously, as we gear up for football season. And we are now finally in game week, which is fantastic. All right. What do you think? Now that we've had final cuts and we finally have the Cowboys 53, what are your impressions of it? Who are you surprised about? Who are you not surprised about? Post your comments. Shout out to the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. And shout out to all those folks watching across that page. Let me check out what's going on in the comments over there. Shout out to all you watching on Facebook and on YouTube. Make sure to hit me up in the comments and also hit the share button if you're watching this on Facebook. Sharing is caring. Remember that. The big story, I would think, would be the release of Dan Bailey, which we'll get into here momentarily. But on the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page, Neil Favre in the house. Samad Lee says, I'm so excited for the season. Armando Varela Olvera says, is Jerry and Garrett still on the rooster? They are still both on the rooster. Brian Walker says, why'd the Cowboys let Dan Bailey go? Big mistake. We'll get to that coming up in here in a moment. Curtis Starks in the house. Neil Favre, Joe Tranchina also saying what's going on. Neil Favre says, heard Travis might be able to play before the halfway point of the season. Well, the fact that Travis Frederick was on the final 53 and was not then placed on IR gives you a pretty good indication of where the Cowboys think they are in his comeback. The quote from Jason Garrett yesterday was, quote, we feel like with the information we have right now, it was important to keep him on the 53 and give him a chance to come back as soon as he can. So, if they would have placed him on short-term IR, he would have had to miss the first 8 weeks of the season, but it would have freed up a roster spot. The Cowboys think he can come back prior to that 8 weeks. So it's obviously good news because the Cowboys, fundamentally, their success is tied straight to Travis Frederick, I would think, because he's so important and crucial for the success of their offensive line for multiple reasons. I think the Cowboys feel pretty confident in Joe Looney. They went out and brought in Adam Redmond, a backup center who went to Harvard and played 4 games a couple of years ago for the Colts, but has spent the majority of his career on the practice squad for the Colts and Bills. They feel confident in Looney, but obviously the success for the Cowboys this year would be tied specifically into Travis Frederick and the health of those guys. Keith Stone wants to know who the clear number 1 is at receiver to start the season. Let's go with Michael Gallup. He's the guy that they've targeted throughout the preseason on a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 must-have situation. He's the guy that can win, one-on-one at the line of scrimmage. We hope so, but that's going to be the key, Keith. Damian Michael says, Bailey getting old, not enough leg power, replaced with a little younger but big leg. In Brett Maher, that's the new Cowboys place kicker. I want to get into that in a second, but just want to make sure I'm checking in on all the pages and platforms that we're streaming live on. Streaming live on YouTube via the Law Nation 2.0 page. Shout out to all you watching on Law Nation's page. Kevin Beck says, cheers. Kevin Beck says, 2 touchdowns before the offense sees the field. Go Cowboys. Interesting. Ninja Nut says, what's up? Kevin Beck says, offense. Okay. He's saying 2 touchdowns before the Cowboys offense sees the field on Sunday. That's eternally optimistic. That's fantastic. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, but sure. Why not? All right, checking, that's Law Nation 2.0. Also, make sure if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to scroll over to the Phantom YouTube page, Watch Phantom, F-A-N-T-O-M. Make sure to hit the subscribe button over there, and I will, of course, try to check comments via the Watch Phantom YouTube page as well as the Watch Phantom Facebook page. Obviously, we have a lot of different platforms and pages we're streaming across. the best way to have your comments heard as quickly as possible would be through the Watch Phantom YouTube page or the Watch Phantom Facebook page. So, if you're interacting with one of those pages, your comments will get read. Your comments will get read as quicker than on the other pages, but I'll try to get to all the different pages. All right, shout out now to the Dallas Cowboys report page. Just going to check in there real quickly. But the two big stories I would say over the weekend from roster cutdown day for the Cowboys, one was Travis Frederick being included on the 53, not going on the PUP list, which would have had him out for the first 6 weeks, not going on short-term IR, which would have had him out for the first 8 weeks. So he is on the active roster. He's available to come back whenever necessary, but this could potentially backfire for the Cowboys insofar as the expectation now in that locker room is that he could come back as early as in the first month of the season. So, if there starts to be struggles with Joe Looney, and now the question within that locker room is, well, when is, Frederick going to come back? And that's the kind of thing where, and this is what I said earlier, it's like, you want to manage expectations, not just with fans and the media, but certainly within that locker room. And last year, there was so much drama, and we saw that in All or Nothing with the impending situation with Zeke Elliott. And, they should have known, as had been apparent, I guessed, before, that Zeke Elliott wasn't going to win. He was going to miss games. There was no way he was going to win against the NFL in a battle, in a legal battle. So they should have been expecting him to miss the majority of the season or miss 6 games. And they seemed completely caught off guard by it. And they were like, they were the ebbs and flows of the drama. They just couldn't handle that. And I hope they aren't falling into that same trap with Frederick. Obviously, the Cowboys want him to come back as quickly as possible, and this certainly is an indication that he could come back quicker than maybe initially imagined, but they have to, again, make sure that they are managing expectations in that locker room because the psyche of that locker room is really important here. All right, again, shout out to the Dallas Cowboys report page, all you folks watching across the Dallas Cowboys report. Let's see here. Mark Bariski says, thumbs up. Says, feed me all year. You talking about Zeke? Feed Zeke all year? Sounds good. All right, let's check in on the Law Nation Facebook page now. Shout out to Lawrence Thomas and Law Nation. By the way, Law Nation is going to be doing a live stream during Cowboys games this year for Phantom. Make sure to make plans to join Law Nation along with Derek Kirby from the Dallas Prospect, as they're going to be streaming live during the game at Henry's Tavern in Plano, right there in the shops at Legacy. Henry's Tavern, if you haven't been there, unbelievable selection of great craft beers, great food, perfect place to watch the game Sunday. So make plans. The Irishman next week, that's where I'll be for Showtime. But this Sunday, 3:25, make plans to join Law Nation and DDP from the Dallas Prospect, as they're going to be broadcasting live during the game, giving their ongoing commentary during the game Sunday, 3:25 for Panthers. So make sure to bring it. Make plans to be out with Henry's Tavern again in Plano at the shops at Legacy, just off of the Dallas North Tollway, if you're familiar with the area. And by the way, there will be also a fantastic drink special or appetizer special as well at Henry's. Woo! All right, here we go. Lynn Isaacson's checking in. Lynn, how are you? Lynn Isaacson Kirschenbaum from the Irishman Pub, where I'll be all next week. Again, shout out to the Irishman Pub in Richardson. I'll be out there all next week. So, again, make plans to be out with us at the Irishman Pub all next week. I lost my cup, by the way. So I've got a... This is what happens when you've got a one-man band kind of thing going on here. All right. Kerry Teagle says Antoine Woods is the new number 93. Indeed he is. Also, Dorrance Armstrong, who wore 74 throughout training camp, is going to be wearing 58 for the Cowboys this season. Erica Shaney says Sunday can't get here fast enough. All right, shout out to the Law Nation Facebook page. Let's see here. Johnny Kaz says roster still incomplete. Tight end, safety, wide receiver. I don't expect much. Once again, see last 20 years. Roster still incomplete. Well, the tight end, they have 4 tight ends in their roster, which is one more than I figured they would keep basically the entire offseason. I'm surprised they decided to keep 4. But obviously, Jeff Swaim and Blake Jarwin, we knew were going to make this roster. Here we go. All right, we're on. And then it was just a matter of were they going to keep Dalton Schultz or Rico Gathers. Well, they ended up keeping Rico Gathers, which was a major surprise, especially because that morning he was arrested believe in Frisco for weed, which my guess is the Cowboys had already made their decision on Rico Gathers. But look, I was surprised Rico Gathers made this roster, although less surprised as it got down to the nitty-gritty towards the end. It looked like he was doing enough to make this team. And I guess I'm surprised they kept 4 tight ends, but I don't know, Johnny, that I'd agree that they're incomplete at tight end. They've got a guy who's a project in Dalton Schultz. They certainly like the way that Rico Gathers has evolved, especially because within the last few weeks we heard that Gathers didn't know enough about the offense, didn't know enough about offensive principles. So, apparently he learned enough in the final 2 weeks of training camp and the preseason to garner a roster spot. But he's the guy with upside. He's the guy with athleticism that can make quality catches. He's the red zone target potentially. So, I expect Rico to play a meaningful role in this team and not just make this roster. The next hurdle will be, can he be on the active 46? So you're on the 53, but how about the active 46, the guys that wear jerseys on Sunday? All right, on the Cowboy Joe Boo page, shout out to Joe Boo, Mark Holmes, doing great work across YouTube and Vimeo, and now, of course, on Facebook as well. Let's see here, anybody watching over there. Kevin Melton gives me the thumbs up. Luis Morales says, go Cowboys. And then Francisco Segura says, defense wins Super Bowl. This is something I've talked about before. In the NFL, teams that have win championships, especially in recent history, they tend to be either top 5 in offense or top 5 in defense, but not necessarily both. That's the thing I think that kind of goes understated, is you don't have to be top 5 in offense and top 5 in defense. Now, the majority of teams that have won Super Bowls in the last decade are top 5 in offense and not top 5 in defense. Now, they have to be a defense that's opportunistic, that creates turnovers, that gets after the quarterback. Those are you don't have to be a top 5 offense, but you certainly have to be a get off the field on third down, sack the quarterback type of defense. But, there are very few, when you talk about defense wins championships, the only team in the last decade to win a championship with a top 5 defense is the Broncos. And they had a historically great defense. So, look, I think the Cowboys are going to have a drastically improved defense. I think they're going to get after the quarterback. I think their front 7 is as good as we've seen for this organization in a long, long time. But they're still built, in my opinion, to win an offense. And their ability to win a championship depends on their ability to successfully, to be successful on offense. All right, across the Big Game James page, Scott Vega says, let's go get ET. I believe Scott Vega has been in the comments basically every day saying that we should go get Earl Thomas, which I don't, again, disagree with, but I just don't think that that's going to happen. I think the Cowboys are fine to not give up any trade assets or draft assets and acquire Earl Thomas next year in free agency. And what the price will be for that and whether or not that's the right move, that's a question for a different day. But it doesn't appear that Earl Thomas is going to start this year with the Dallas Cowboys. All right, I'm R.A. Temkin. You can hear me hosting the pre- and post-game show for the Dallas Cowboys along the Dallas Cowboys radio network and locally in the DFW area on 105.3 The Fan. I stream every day at noon from 12 to 1 Central right here on Phantom, the new world order of sports media. We stream across multiple pages and platforms, but the best way to get in touch with us as quickly as possible would be through the Watch Phantom Facebook page and the Watch Phantom YouTube page. Those would be the comments I get to the fastest. Like Eric Koscielny says, do we still have an open spot? No, they have a 53 fulfilled roster spots. They maneuvered a little bit. Deontay Thompson makes the final roster after being cut on Saturday. Noah Brown, he initially makes the roster and then he gets placed on IR. There were formatics and reasons for why they did it that way, but they signed a safety, Ibrahim. Can't think of his last name off the top of my head, but a guy that was just cut by the Texans. They initially kept Kadeem Edwards, but then cut him to add a Redmond to the roster. So their 53 roster spots are taken up, at least at this point. All right. No matter where you're watching from, hit the share button, post your comments. On the Silver and Blue Nation page, Jessica Haggerty in the house. Jenny Scott says Jenny and Jenny's here in New Jersey. Rico should be gone. Johnny Oldag. Jenny Scott says Rico should be gone. Why do you think Rico should be gone, Jenny? Campbell, Ibrahim Campbell. Thank you, Kerry. It's funny because Campbell was the first name that came to my mind, but then I was like, no, that doesn't sound right. Ibrahim Campbell is the safety they brought in who was cut by the Texans. John Bean says, how are we looking for Sunday? That's a great question. It's funny because, you spend basically the last 3 weeks or so sort of focused in on, well, who's going to make the roster? What are these final roster spots going to look like? And so we finally have it, and now it's like, well, let's react to it. But, I mean, I think, and John Bean, to your point, like, truth of the matter here is, like, the guys that we knew were going to make this roster are the ones we need to focus on now, because now we're in game week, and we're getting ready for the Carolina Panthers. Sunday, 3:25 kickoff on Fox. Again, you can watch the game with Law Nation, the Dallas Prospect, and Phantom at Henry's Tavern in Plano, just off of the Dallas North Tollway. The shop's at Legacy. They will have some sort of appetizer special that we'll get to you here in a little bit, but you'll have to have a coupon that you can either bring in or print out on your phone that will give you either half off an appetizer or a free appetizer Sunday during the game at Henry's. You can catch the pregame show starting at 12:30 on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, where I will be along with Jesse Holly. Eric Kushaney says, I can see Cam running for his life. Anyone else? Well, that's where you start in this football game Sunday if you're previewing it. You know, the offensive line for the Carolina Panthers, they lost 2 of their starters at the beginning of training camp, and you know, we've seen Matt Khalil at times run with their left, be their starting left tackle, which is problematic if you're trying to win football games. So, but Cam is a guy that's routinely hard to sack. I mean, he's consistently one of the better evasive quarterbacks in the league, obviously, with his running ability and dual threat ability. So, this is really going to test their linebackers, which, at the beginning of camp, we said their linebackers, or throughout camp, I should say, their linebackers really showed out. It's been, to me, the linebackers are probably the second best positional group on the entire roster, with offensive line being number 1. So there's a lot of expectations on this linebacking crew, and so the pressure will be on them in game 1. Obviously, you want to tee up your pass rush, but the linebackers are the one that are really going to have to either know when to stay home to protect against the run, or to really protect against Cam trying to get upfield and run. I mean, they talk about spies. That's your linebacking core, and specifically, I mean, it'll be on Jalen Smith to sort of understand he's the guy that's going to play close to the line of scrimmage. He's the guy that's going to be spying Cam Newton, if you will. So it'll be a major test for Jalen Smith right out the chute for a guy that didn't look great in this kind of a situation last year, but has had a tremendous camp. And this type of game against this type of quarterback is fit for a guy like Jalen Smith. All right, let's see here. Across the Dallas Cowboys America's team page, Joe Tranchina says the Earl Thomas ship has sailed. Buonasera. Neil Favre says, do they round out the practice squad? And I believe they still have 2 open spots in their practice squad. Curtis Starks wants to know why they kept 3 quarterbacks in the 53. Because they didn't want to cut either Cooper Rush or Mike White and leave them susceptible to being picked up. So, I mean, I guess my thought from the beginning of training camp all the way through was, are they going to keep 3 quarterbacks? And if they do, it'll be because Mike White wasn't able to beat out Cooper Rush, and that's what happened. So, I mean, you're kind of able to. I mean, they kept 9 offensive linemen, which I think is the right move. They kept 3 quarterbacks. They keep 4 tight ends, but now they're borrowed from running back. So we thought they'd keep 4 running backs. They keep 3 with the fullback Jameis Olawale. So, they had to do some maneuvering to try to get those numbers, but I'm okay with them keeping 3. I wouldn't have kept 2 if the 2 were Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott. Ryan Ariano says, any insight on any last-minute additions or trades? No, I mean, I think for the most part, they've all happened. The Cowboys will remain active. But I think at this point, they've maneuvered a little bit. They made a trade to bring in a guy in Parker Anger. They were able to bring in a safety in Campbell and then Adam Redmond as a backup center. So I think that's where they're going to go into game week 1. It'll be interesting to see who the 46 dresses. I'm guessing they're not going to end up dressing all 4 of their tight ends. So we'll see if Gathers gets in there. All right, Kerry Teagle says, Cheeto locking down DJ Moore. That's going to be an interesting matchup to watch for. DJ Moore obviously is a guy that Cowboys fans wanted, the rookie wide receiver out of Maryland. High expectations for him as a first-round draft pick. Cowboys obviously passed up DJ Moore. How will he play? And obviously with Cheeto on him, I wonder if Cheeto's their number one guy, and when you talk about number one corners, those are guys that travel left side, right side. So it'll be interesting to see how they implement Cheeto in that regard. Will he travel with the other team's number one, or will he stay on one side of the field? Cody Arnold says Earl Thomas is coming to Dallas today. Ray Pierce says, hey, Ari, won't this be a pretty good test for the O-line blocking their rush? Sure, yeah. Kawan Short, Dontari Poe, Luke Kuechly. I mean, Carolina, as we've known them, in recent history, has a very, very good defense. And obviously with Ron Rivera, former defensive coordinator, that's their mentality, that's their mantra. So, yeah, this is going to be a really good test, obviously, for Joe Looney at center with the beasts in the middle he's going to have to deal with in the interior of that offensive line. And, again, one of the things you lose without Travis Frederick in the lineup is, the communication between Martin and Frederick that they have so well, and the fact that they don't have to communicate in order to communicate. You know what I mean? They know where each other's going to be, so they're always on the same page. And so that'll be a huge thing with Looney is, they're not going to have that same familiarity, but how much communication goes on between those two guys, and can they be on the same page? And we'll see that early on, especially going up against a really good defense like Carolina has. Jackson Darren is in the house in the comments on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page. Says, don't quite understand why we won't get a veteran quarterback in the event Dak goes down. I certainly was on this train throughout the end of training camp when it looked like we just didn't like what we've seen from Cooper Rush and Mike White. I mean, this is Jerry Jones was on 105 Through the Fan with Sean and RJ this morning and was asked about the backup quarterback situation and basically said they aren't in the market for a veteran quarterback for whatever reason. I don't know what the exact reason is, but maybe they don't want to spend the money. Maybe they feel like they like what they have in Cooper Rush. But we'll see. Obviously, the Cowboys don't believe they're going to have much success this year if they don't have Dak Prescott. So, it's hard to disagree with them. Number one, Alonzo Sykes wants to know who's the number one wide receiver and number one tight end. Number one wide receiver is Michael Gallup. Number one tight end is Jeff Swaim. Easy enough, right? All right, let's see here. Ninja Nuts says page jump on the Watch Phantom YouTube page. Thank you, Ninja Nuts. Appreciate you doing that. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to go over to the Phantom Facebook page, Watch Phantom, and like the page. Subscribe over there. And again, the comments I'm most frequently checking out during the 12 to 1 broadcast every day is the Watch Phantom YouTube page and the Watch Phantom Facebook page. So I'll try to get to those comments as quickly as I possibly can. Cody Arnold wants to know if Leighton Vander Esch will play. I'm not sure. A lot of that will be based on if he practices today. I'm going to go out to their locker room session later on this afternoon, so maybe I'll get a better insight into what they're doing at the linebacking situation for Week 1. But I'm not sure we're going to see Leighton Vander Esch dress Week 1, which is a very big disappointment considering he's a 16th overall pick. G. Garcia says, so I'm guessing there are no safeties in free agency besides Earl we want to bring in. They brought in Ibrahim Campbell. And then a lot of this, too, is the status of Xavier Woods. As Woods, the initial prognosis was he was only going to miss 1 week. So, if that's the case, then, this is the guy. They planned on having Xavier Woods be their starting free safety at the beginning of training camp. That's what they figured they'd want to see. They liked what they saw out of him. So, I think if you're going to miss Xavier Woods for just 1 week, then you're fine. I mean, I don't know how fine they are because I'm not sure how much I buy Xavier Woods as their starting free safety, but that was the Cowboys' plan. Let's see here. Tim Hasty says these moves we made will just keep us in the middle of the pack. I see 2 more 9-7 seasons. What moves in particular? You're talking about like the moves that they made at the end of training camp to set their roster? What moves in particular are you referring to? All right, on the Law Nation 2.0 YouTube page, the U says, what up, y'all? What's going on? DemBoys88 says, who's the backup free safety? Backup free safety is Ibrahim Campbell, guy they just signed, who was released by the Texans. So, and then it'll be interesting to see is, will they go with Kayvon Frazier and Jeff Heath, two starting strong safeties, to basically start the season. Wade Zetterberg says, thank you, Tim. Everyone on the inside can't see the real picture here. I have them at 8-8 this season. Jackie Smith says, well, on the quarterback issue, a lot of you wanted Cooper Rush, not Dak. How do you like the Cooper? Now, that's really funny. Let's see here. Jackie Smith also says, thank you, Ninja Nut. So the Connor Cook and Paxton Lynch talk about bringing them in to work out is so far off track. Why would you even want either? Yeah, like I agree with, like, do people really want Connor Cook or Paxton Lynch over Cooper Rush? I mean, other than draft pick, and for Paxton Lynch, other than him being a first-round draft pick, like why on earth would you think about bringing Paxton Lynch in here over Cooper Rush? I mean, as bad as Cooper Rush appeared during the preseason, I mean, did you watch Paxton Lynch? I mean, there's just no way. There's no veteran quarterback you bring in that makes sense. And so, I mean, I get the Cowboys' mentality. And again, like, their ability to win games this year is not dependent on, replacing Dak Prescott. They're built to win with Dak Prescott. They're built to win on offense with a zone read, active quarterback like Dak who can spread the ball around. I mean, it's Dak friendly, right? So obviously you want to cater your offensive schemes to fit the skill set of your players and more specifically your quarterback. And so the Cowboys have done that. All right, broadcasting live on the Phantom page. Ninja Nut says he's on both pages. Excellent. Appreciate you, Ninja Nuts. That's an awesome YouTube name, by the way. I'm gonna go check out your channel. All right, on Law Nation's 2.0 YouTube page, that's Let's Sanchez. That's Dak friendly. Yeah, that's right. I'm assuming Sanchez is available, by the way, isn't he? Or is he has he become a TV analyst? It seems like Sanchez has gone into TV by now, but I mean, he was the guy's rookie year that provided the best guidance to Dak Prescott. So, maybe you do go Sanchez. Maybe you do go with the Sanchez. I don't know. I mean, most of the options I heard as far as backing up Dak were like, all right, whatever. I mean, at this point, you're going to win with Dak, and you're going to lose if Dak's not in there. And the unfortunate thing of that is, you need a coach that can change schematics a little bit and game plan. So if they lose Dak, my guess is Jason Garrett will get another excuse as to why they're going to continue to keep him if they do not have a successful season this year. Kerry Teagle says, Cowboys decline talks in Denver about Paxton. Good. Yeah, I wonder, that's funny. I wonder if Denver was called up the Cowboys to be like, hey, remember when you wanted Paxton Lynch? We got him for a third-round draft pick. And Dallas was like, yeah, we're all set, thanks. You're about to release him anyways. Because the Broncos didn't initially release him, but it was like, what? You crazy? But then eventually they came to their senses. Sanchez was suspended. Thank you, J Farm, for PEDs. Wow. Just imagine what he looks like not on PEDs. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna try to scroll through pages. Wade Zetterberg says, I'm currently at McD's listening in, and if Paxton Lynch served me my fries, I'd expect him to be dropped. Well said. All right, if you're watching this, hit the share button. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. I'm Ari Temkin. You can hear me on the pre- and post-game show for the Dallas Cowboys on 105 through the Fan and across the Dallas Cowboys radio network. You can also see me streaming live every day, 12 Central, right here on Phantom at facebook.com/Watch Phantom, and of course across the Watch Phantom YouTube page as well. Post your comments, hit the share button. Let's get this thing rolling. All right, back on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page, Kevin Causey says, why not get Landry Jones? I mean, we could play this game forever. I think the Cowboys, look, should the Cowboys go out and get another backup quarterback? Probably. Will they? No, because their head coach wants to go with the devil that he knows as opposed to the devil that he doesn't know. And I think in this case, he feels more confident in Cooper Rush as the backup because Cooper Rush knows the offense. What we saw from Cooper Rush in preseason wasn't very inspiring. And the excuse, well, he didn't play with the first-string offense is pretty ridiculous considering he had a great preseason last year. It won him the backup job, and he was doing that without playing with first-teamers. So, I'm with you, but at the same time, I think the Cowboys' ability to be successful this year is dependent upon Dak Prescott's health. I just really kind of think it's that simple and would probably overplaying the importance of the backup quarterback in this regard. Let's see here. Cody Wall says, I'm sure they have a backup uniform for Kellen Moore just in case. Would you want that? I'd rather have Cooper Rush than Kellen Moore. Cody Arnold says, I'd like them to get JT Barrett just because he's from my hometown. Eric Kashani says, yeah, Lynch is hot garbage. Ray Pierce says we need a new OC and head coach, at least a different OC. Well, that's not going to happen unless the Cowboys are bad this year, in my opinion. Leroy Parsons says Dez might be humble enough to be a backup. Yeah, Dez Bryant's not coming back to the Cowboys. Like, no, I don't. Not really sure why people are still on that train. Dez burned all of his bridges. I mean, he called Sean Lee Snake Lee. You think that guy's coming back to be in this locker room? The guy that called Sean Lee Snake Lee? That guy's not getting back in this locker room? No way. All right, what else you guys got? Let me just scroll through all the pages we're broadcasting on. I'm Ari Temkin. Thanks to all you who are part of today's show. By the way, tonight, join us at Henry's Tavern in the shops at Legacy, as we're going to be doing a preliminary broadcast along with Law Nation. I'll be on with DDP, the Dallas Prospect. So just a sort of a get you ready for Sunday at Henry's Tavern in the shops at Legacy in Plano. We'll be broadcasting tonight around 9 o'clock Central. So this will not be the last you've heard of me tonight. All right, on the Dallas Cowboys report page, let's see, what do we got? We've got Jennifer Hankey says DC for life, and then John Xuvillay, Xeunvilay. Would anybody venture to guess how you'd pronounce that? Xeunvilay. Like to buy a vowel. Yeah, Kiri Teagle says, Dez, a backup in Dallas, laughing emoji. Cody Arnold, haha, I like your facial expression when he said Snake Lee. I mean, there's like 100 other reasons why they wouldn't bring him back. Okay, maybe not 100. And look, I still think Dez is a really good player. I don't necessarily think it was a good move to cut him, but the Cowboys thought that it was. The Cowboys have talked all offseason about how much this is addition by subtraction, and now the Cowboys are Dak friendly, and now they've got their issues fixed, and now they can become more creative, and on and on and on. All these things we've heard the entire offseason. Well, let's see it. The time is now for us to see it. Cody Arnold says, I'd really like to see Corey Coleman here. I think his problem is lack of quarterback and injury. Yeah. Wade Zetterberg says, speaking of quarterbacks, can someone explain the interest people have in Teddy Bridgewater? Well, I would have been open to him being the Cowboys backup, but not for a third round pick. I mean, I think this is a guy, the reason there's excitement over him is because there's not really 32 starters in the NFL. So a guy that's shown throughout the course of his career to be an NFL starter, there's interest in him. That's why. So there's a lot of intrigue about a guy that's been a productive starter, but now obviously he's coming off a horrific injury, and who knows how effective he can be. But I mean, good on the Jets. I mean, the Jets basically picked him up off the scrap heap, brought him in to compete. He lost the job. They ended up getting a third-round pick for him. It's a guy that was going to be their third-string quarterback. All right, Zach Williams says, I hope we can tank this year and get a good pick. We need it again. We'll have $60 million in cap next year. We can sign Earl Thomas. I'm not able to see any. Like, normally I can maneuver and see them, like these comments that say see more, but today I'm not having much success doing that. So my apologies to all you for your lengthy comments that are only going to be read about a sentence of. So really, do it like a typewriter. Post your comments like you're on a typewriter. Send it, enter. Send it, enter. Doing it right? Okay, cool. That way, because I'm just completely unable to see more on the see more function. Facebook really needs to get the see more function fixed. You listening, Facebook? Let's see here what else we got. On the Phantom page at facebook.com/watch Phantom, Ray Pierce says, could this be the last year for Garrett? If Garrett goes, will Linehan go too? Yes. Could it be last year? Yes, it very well could. I've been on the record saying I believe the Cowboys are a playoff team this year, although I'm becoming more and more pessimistic by the day. And really the root of my pessimism is their offensive line being in flux. And, Frederick, how much time is he going to miss? Will Zach Martin's knee injury hold up? Will Tyron Smith's back hold up? I mean, that's a precarious perch for a team that's success this year is dependent upon the health and ability of their offensive line. Eric Kashani says it's not even that Garrett's a bad coach, because he's not. I just can't stand the damn clapping and smiling. He's a bad coach. He's a good motivator. He's not great at scheming. Like he's okay at putting out a game plan. He's horrible at trying to evolve within a game over the course of games. He does not know how to evolve and adapt. It's really incredible how bad he is at that, which, I mean, it's a fatal flaw for a coach to not be able to evolve and adapt. It's a fatal flaw. You're not going to win a Super Bowl if you don't have a coach that can evolve and adapt. Period. All right, let's see here. Going back now to YouTube. Shout out to all you folks watching on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to our channel at Facebook, at search Watch Phantom, Phantom, and subscribe over there. DemBoys88 says, I believe a third and Terrence Williams can get it done. You're talking about a trade with Seattle, a third and Terrence Williams. Don't you think if a third and Terrence Williams will get the job done, that job would be done? Like, seriously, think about that. If you think the Cowboys are not going to trade Terrence Williams and a third-round pick for Earl Thomas, you're crazy. Seattle, the last report we heard, Seattle wanted a first and a third. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. That's no. And I've been a huge proponent of go get Earl Thomas. I've been saying it all off season. I would go so far as to give up a second-round pick, but to give up a first-round pick and a third-round pick for Earl Thomas, that's crazy. All right, let's see here. Ninja Nuts says, I think he's a mediocre coach. Garrett belongs to the YMCA. He's the epitome of mediocre, Ninja Nuts. He's the epitome of mediocre. He is absolutely mediocre. Ryan England says Chris Richard for head coach. We're going to hear a lot of that throughout this year. Ray Pierce says, isn't being a friend to the team not admirable too? I have no idea what that's in reference to. Kerry Teagle says, I hope Norv Turner doesn't outcoach Garrett from the box. Norv Turner, the offensive coordinator of the Carolina Panthers, former Dallas Cowboys offensive coordinator, long-time NFL offensive coordinator. Dallas fan says 0 Super Bowls with Jerry. You might want to recheck that one, Dallas fan. Kevin Beck says the Cowboys have a habit last year of not playing strong through 4 quarters of ball, even in games we won. True. Very, very true. Well, I mean, look, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, Garrett has not evolved within a game, has not evolved over the course of games. He has a game plan, he sticks to it, good or bad. And that's not a good characteristic of a head coach in the NFL. And yeah, Ray Pierce says his record shows how mediocre he is. Absolutely. All right. Just want to check in on the Watch Phantom YouTube page. My Cowboys family says, what's up, Ari? He also says Garrett is not to be trusted. And he says Garrett's decision about Bailey and others out himself on the chopping block if they don't get to the playoffs this season. I think that's fair. The Bailey thing, that's the only thing I haven't talked about yet. I was shocked when I read that Dan Bailey was cut. Cowboys sent an email out to all the media members that are on their distribution list basically saying who was cut. And Bailey was one of the first names listed. And it was like, what? And it's interesting because they're basically saying that Brett Maher beat out Dan Bailey in competition, which I'm okay with. But the problem is, Brett Maher had the majority of field goal kicks in the preseason. Brett Maher hit 5 of 6 kicks. Dan Bailey only had 1 field goal attempt the entire preseason. So they gave Maher 6 kicks. They gave Bailey 1 in actual preseason action. So it's just bizarre because, you knew that Maher was getting the majority of kicks in the preseason, and so it seems like it wasn't so much of a battle as it was like an audition. They knew they didn't really want to go with Bailey, and that they just wanted Maher to validate their feelings that they could go with somebody else, and that's why. And look, Maher was a 4-year player in the Canadian Football League. He kicked and punted for both Ottawa and Hamilton over the last 4 years in the Canadian Football League. In the last 2 years, he was 82 out of 100 in 2 seasons with the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Ottawa Red Blacks, or whatever their name is. I don't know. So he's pretty good. He had a 57-yarder in preseason. He had a 58-yarder for Hamilton a couple of years ago. So he's got the leg. He's got the percentage. Maybe they felt like Dan Bailey was on the downslope, but don't tell me that he won a competition, because he didn't. How can one guy get 1 kick in one preseason game, the other guy gets 6 kicks over the course of 4 preseason games, and you're calling it a competition? It's bizarre. Skeeter Bose says, I think we'll be surprised a lot of people as long as we stay healthy. Joe Patrick says Bailey has a lingering issue. And then Cody Arnold says the Jets didn't sign Bailey, so maybe there is something we don't know. It could be fair. He had that, a groin injury last year? And then he came back and he wasn't the same. Look, I'm all for getting rid of a guy if it's the right time to get rid of him, especially a kicker. You are only as good as your kicking game, and the mentality of your kicking game, and the psyche of your kicker. And obviously the confidence and psyche of Dan Bailey was kind of shaken, because he was not his normal self, old reliable, when he came back from the injury last year. He missed a couple of extra points. He missed another kick inside the 30, so he wasn't himself. But so maybe this was one of those, we don't want to wait and see how his psyche plays out. We'd rather just be proactive and sign a new kicker. And I'm completely fine with it. One, though, don't tell me it was a competition, because it wasn't. And two, they have to be 100% sure about Brett Maher. 100% sure. And he's got to be basically perfect, because as soon as there starts to be some chinks in the armor on Maher, man, that is going to be second-guess heaven for fans and media. I mean, even if Dan Bailey's unsigned, Brett Maher starts missing kicks, all of a sudden people are going to be like, where's Dan Bailey? Why did they sign Dan Bailey? So, look, I think this could end up becoming a really good move for them, especially because we know how much Jason Garrett loves kicking field goals. I'm of the belief that, I don't put too much stock in my field goal kicker, because I'm not kicking a lot of field goals. I'm going for it the majority of times in 4th down in opponent's territory. Because, as I've seen, you're going to score more points over the course of a season when you do that. But Jason Garrett doesn't do that. He's by the book. He's going to kick as soon as he gets past the 50. It's a wet dream for him, because he immediately gets to kick his field goal whenever he's comfortable with it. Ray Pierce says, could have been more of a price cut too. I don't buy that at all. I mean, first of all, they have $19.5 million of cap space unused right now. Who are they using it on? They have $60 million or whatever it is in the cap. I don't buy that it was a money thing. I mean, you're paying Dan Bailey very little money, and even with that, you had $19.5 million open right now on the cap. So I don't buy that it was a money thing. Even though I know the Cowboys said that. All right, Ninja Nut says, Bailey getting cut would not be on Garrett. Garrett is crap, but he doesn't have that power. You're probably right. My Cowboys family on the Watch Phantom YouTube page comments, Bailey wasn't even involved in his kicking contest. Dan didn't know. Garrett was the guy who made the final call on Bailey. A lot of coaches wanted to keep Bailey. Interesting. And I'm going to go to their open locker room at around 4:15 Central today. So when I do another stream tonight with Law Nation and the Dallas Prospect about 9 o'clock Central, I might have some more information for you on that front. My Cowboys family says, reminds me of what happened to Nick Folk 10 years ago, but why didn't Dan Bailey know he was fighting for his job? Bailey might have had an issue, but we'll never know. Maher has good lag and accurate, but he hasn't kicked the NFL under that kind of pressure. All true. Maher, he's got a good percentage. He showed in the preseason he's got really good distance, so it's going to be very interesting to see, if he carries that confidence into the regular season. It's one thing to kick, be a place kicker in the preseason. Another thing altogether, obviously, to be a kicker, place kicker in the regular season, especially when you cut a guy that's the second most accurate kicker in the NFL, in the NFL's history, in order to bring this guy on. Dallas fan says Garrett will be our coach for 10 more years. I'm not so sure about that, Dallas fan. Junkyard Dog says, remember Vanderjagt? Yep. And again, maybe this was a situation that was heading towards Mike Vanderjagt, where he was the most accurate kicker in the NFL, and then he got the yips and he never returned. But I mean, I'm okay with it. I also think you didn't really have a competition. Brett Maher I think was just auditioning for the role. And I don't know if they are going to keep Dan Bailey because there was no competition. You let a guy kick once during preseason and the other guy kicked 6 times during preseason, that's not a competition. 7 kicks, they should be balanced out between the two guys that are competing if it was indeed a competition. So maybe the Cowboys thought from the psyche perspective that they couldn't waste any time on missing field goals in the regular season to see if he was right mentally. Solomon Jernigan on the Law Nation 2.0 YouTube page comments, the ceiling for Jalen Smith this year, I don't think it's just as high as Khalil Mack as a pass rusher linebacker. Khalil Mack's one of the 3 best defensive players in the league. We'll see with Jalen. I mean, look, I'm as optimistic as the next guy in Jalen Smith. What he's doing right now is unbelievable. It's unprecedented in modern sports. The injury that he suffered and the ability to come back from that and then perform at a high level is insane. But I don't know what reasonable expectations are for Jalen Smith. And maybe what we consider to be reasonable expectations for Jalen Smith are already out of whack. Ryan England says, I think Gallup's going to be a big-time stud. And I want to go back to a stat that I brought up on Friday during my last live stream here, but it's been almost 2015 was the last time a rookie wide receiver had over 1,000 yards receiving, and that was Amari Cooper. So there was no 1,000-yard rookie receivers last year. There was no 1,000-yard rookie receivers the year before that. So there are high expectations for Michael Gallup, and I understand it, but I also think Amari Cooper was the last rookie to have over 1,000 yards receiving, and he was the 16th overall pick. Michael Gallup was a 3rd-round pick. My Cowboys family says also the money move by Garrett to save money on Bailey only opened up $3 million and we aren't using about 19 we have under the cap. Right? Exactly. To free up cap for what? I mean, they were paying him $3 million, so they're gonna end up paying Brett Maher the league minimum, $500,000, whatever it is. I heard the money is for Dak, Zeke, and Tank for the future. But that's the thing is you only need that money for this year because you have so much money. I mean, sure, it opens up more money in the future. But, I mean, the money play to me it's a convenient excuse. It makes no sense. They're going to have $19 million of unused cap space this season, and they're going to have a ton of cap space to extend Dak Prescott and to extend Tank Lawrence. They're not going to extend Zeke. They're probably going to end up in a similar situation to which Le'Veon Bell is in right now in Pittsburgh. Skeeter Bowes says if Sean Lee isn't in the field, we'll be in trouble on the defensive side of the ball for sure. I don't know if I agree with that entirely. I think, in years past, that's certainly been the case. I think they're in better position this year to overcome a Sean Lee injury. They've got really good depth at the linebacking position. I mean, Sean Lee is a really important piece from a leadership standpoint. He's really important on the field, obviously. But I think the Cowboys are in the best position they've been in a long time to overcome the loss of Sean Lee. All right, let's see here. Back on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page. Brian Walker says, what's the word on Randy Gregory? Will he be available? Yes, he will. Dusty Brandon says, 4 tight ends rolling with just 2 running backs, I guess. Just hope Bo isn't snagged by somebody else. No, Bo Scarborough cleared waivers and is now in the Cowboys practice squad. Darius Jackson, who's the other guy, cleared waivers, then was placed in the Cowboys practice squad, and then was immediately brought onto the active 53 by the Packers. So they lost Darius Jackson, but they kept Bo Scarborough. I'm okay with them keeping 4 tight ends. I think that was probably the right move. I would have rather than being able to keep Rico Gathers than Bo Scarborough. Jeff Dingus says, what's your opinion of our secondary? I think the corners had, there's some really good players at corner. I think Chidobe Awuzie is a star. He's going to be a Pro Bowler this year. I'm very concerned about the safety position, but it's not due to injuries or anything beyond the fact that the Cowboys did nothing in free agency or the draft to make up for the issues they have at safety. So, I mean, I think their front 7 looks good. Their corners look good. The biggest question mark on their defense is safety. Jay Navarro says, I caught the stream so late. Guess I got to replay this again. I guess you do, buddy. Mike Dillinger says, too many questions. Talking about the Cowboys. I'd say that's fair. And I'll defer to my man TJ Carpenter, who hosts Noon O'Clock every day, coming up right after this program. But, when you analyze a team, fans will always think that the questions that surround a team will be answered optimistically before a season. So, questions about the offensive line. Well, fans will say, well, it'll work out, right? Questions at the secondary. Well, it'll work out, right? Like, fans always look at questions for a team going into a season as if they'll work out. But if you look at it objectively, not all those questions are going to be answered positively. They're not going to be able to answer all those questions positively. And certainly the success of the Cowboys this year is dependent upon the health and availability of their offensive line. And we already know that Frederick's going to miss games. How many, we don't know. We think Looney's an adequate replacement, but that's a major question mark. And remember, the success of this Cowboys team is tied very much to the health and availability of their offensive line. All right, thank you all for being a part of today's stream. Thank you to Eric Koscielny and G. Garcia and Ray Pierce and Chris Bennett and Joe Tranchina and Dusty Brandon and Ryan Ariano and the U on YouTube and Ninja Nuts on YouTube and My Cowboys Family on YouTube. Shout out to all you folks that watch this stream every single day. I appreciate you guys being a part of this discussion every day. If you're new today, well, then make sure to come back tomorrow. I'm on again tonight at 9 o'clock Central. Make sure to make plans to be with us. 9 o'clock Central tonight, I'll be with Law Nation and the Dallas Prospect live from Henry's Tavern in Plano. So if you can't be with us in Plano, make sure to make plans to be with us on the Law Nation 2.0 YouTube page, the Phantom YouTube page, or across all these channels and platforms on Facebook. But for now, I'm out. Coming up next, it's noon o'clock with TJ Carpenter. But for now, I'm out. Peace.